have wasted my time coming down here. Norman makes these gestures regularly, and every time I fall for them. I really ought to know better. We've been married for 5 years. I almost wish to heavens he'd gone away with Annie, had his weekend, got it over with, instead of involving everyone else. Mind you, that would be much too simple for Norman. No point in making a gesture unless he has an appreciative crowd to applaud him. Oh, too late to drive back now. I think I'll go to bed in a minute.
I'm amazed you two are still together.
Well, I think other people's marriages are invariably a source of amazement. They usually are to me. I mean, you and Sarah. Oh, well, you know, I have found quite often it's the people you look at and say, well, they won't last long, who cling on grimly till death. Maybe they're so aware of public opinion they're determined to prove it wrong. You and Sarah, me and Norman, and Annie and that Tom man. Though I think Norman successfully knocked that on the head.
Tom's gone home then?
I saw him stomping off into the night. Probably the most constructive thing Norman's done for some time. Saved Annie from a fate worse than marriage, a sort of eternal engagement.
Oh, I don't know. He's nice enough, Tom.
Not nice enough for her. Oh, this house. I feel like getting a paintbrush and going over it in red and orange and bright blue. It's like a brown museum. A very dirty brown museum.
Well, you can't expect Annie to...
No, I don't expect Annie to do anything. She's got enough to cope with that evil woman upstairs.
You never got on with Mother either, did you?
No. She never liked me. I never liked her. Mutual.
We were saying earlier that you and Mother were rather alike.
Maybe.
I wouldn't say Sarah and I were altogether incompatible. We have differences. I won't try and hide that. We certainly have differences. But, you know, 6 of 1. She's pretty good with the children. On her good days. Runs the house very well. Better than you or Annie would, or Mother.
Of course, she does have the advantage of you running round in circles for her.
That's all right. I don't mind. I prefer being told what to do, really. I often think that if nobody told me what to do, I'd never do anything at all. I remember she went away once for a fortnight, when her father was ill. Took the children with her, and left me on my own in the house. Do you know, I felt myself gradually slowing down. At the end of 10 days, I was hardly moving at all. Extraordinary. It was as if she'd wound me up before she left, and now I was running down. I hadn't even got the energy to take the milk in. Sarah reckons I've got some rare tropical disease, Burmese inertia or something. Anyway, it's better to be calm with her. She's like those toy animals you see in the back windows of cars. Any violent movement from me, and she's nodding her head repeatedly. It works out all right, most days.
Who's washing up?
Nobody. I'm not, so nobody is. I've done quite enough this weekend. I'm not doing any more.
Good for you.
I'll do it in a minute.
Oh, no, don't. You did it last night. Somebody else can do it.
You looking at me?
Or Norman. Or Sarah.
Ha.
I don't know whoever does anything in your house. You and Norman are both as bad as each other. What are you doing?
Trying to read.
You can't read like that. It's resting on your nose.
I like the smell of newsprint. Why don't you wear your glasses? I can manage, thank you.
If you don't like glasses, you could get contact lenses.
I tried them. They don't work.
Of course they do.
They weren't designed for people who share a house with Norman. Life with him is full of sudden, unexpected eye movements. They kept falling out. Where the hell did you get all these dreadful magazines?
They're Sarah's.
I do beg her pardon.
Tom's gone home.
Yes.
He'll be back tomorrow, I expect.
I doubt it. Even he has a limit.
Oh, he'll be back.
It's not altogether our fault if he doesn't come back.
What, after the way everyone's treated him? All right. I know I haven't been particularly nice either. But that was different. I don't know why I'm so mean to him sometimes. It's just when you're fond of someone, you worry what other people think of them. You want them to be something they're not capable of being. Which is very unfair on them, really. I mean, he's Tom, isn't he? That's one of the best things about him. He's always Tom. He never puts on an act for anybody. He never pretends.
No, he's always Tom. You're right there.
Well, it's better than living with an emotional Big Dipper like Norman.
Depends on your taste, doesn't it?
I know which I prefer.
Then I should stick to it then if I were you.
All right. I'm sorry. We have been through that. Norman caught me when I was very depressed. The tail end of that awful Christmas. He asked me at a time when I hardly knew what I was doing.
There's no need to explain. He's always been an expert at timing. Whatever else. He proposed to me in a crowded lift. It was total blackmail. He sounded so appealing, he won the sympathy of everyone round us. Had I been heartless enough to refuse him, they'd have probably dropped me down the lift shaft. I managed to stall him for 3 floors, and then the lift man said, "Sorry, folks, nobody gets out till the little lady says yes." I remember that was the first time I really felt like throttling Norman.
It's very romantic. I proposed to Sarah just out there in the garden, you know.
Yes, we know. Ruth and I watched you through the window.
You didn't, did you?
We weren't going to tell him.
Oh, what's it matter now? Sarah was all wobbly and quivering and trying to make up her mind. And Ruth kept saying, "Say no, say no."
Oh, thank you.
I'll see to Mother in a minute.
If it's not too tactless a question, how long is she going to remain like that?
Oh, forever. Well, till she dies.
That's what Dr. What's-his-name says.
Wickham says there's no reason why she shouldn't last for years. Most of it's psychosomatic. Well, we knew that anyway. She just has no desire to get up. No reason to, so she doesn't. Sad, really. Her whole life was centered around men, wasn't it? When they lost interest in her, she lost interest in herself. Hope I never get like that.
No danger, don't worry.
Oh, well, yes. I know I'm not quite the femme fatale figure, but...
I mean that, thank God, you can see a bit further than she ever could. That woman never had a thought in her head in her life. Look at her lying up there reading those dreadful books.
I'm afraid if I'm here alone with her much longer, I might start to get like her. Oh, you know, when I went up to her this afternoon with this dress on and a bit of makeup, she was so gleeful. She thought at last her propaganda was beginning to have an effect.
Well, we'll try and come down more often, if we can. But I've got Norman, and Reg has got Mrs. Reg, and all those little Reggies. You do see. If you could try. Yes, we'll try. It won't be Reg.
What? Oh, yes, a bit of a job getting away, but I'll see what Sarah can arrange.
Well, nice and quiet for once.
Yes.
Oh, Reg, what are you doing?
I'm just,
haven't you got anything to do?
I'm doing something.
Well, don't be too antisocial, will you? I've got Norman doing the washing up.
You what?
You've really been working the job. Oh, no. I just had to ask him. I said, would he be very kind since I wasn't feeling up to it, and he was perfectly agreeable.
You must pass on the secret. Everything that can fall to bits in our house is done so. All the doorknobs come off in your hand. None of the cupboards open. 3 of the windows are stuck. The fridge needs a plug. And on wet days, we have to climb out the front room window to go to work. Because the front door walks when it rains. I could probably do it myself. But I'm damned if I'm going to.
Well, if you don't mind my saying so, Ruth, I think you just handle Norman wrongly. If you ask him very nicely, he is very willing and helpful.
That's good coming from you. You always say he's impossible.
Well, I think we underestimate Norman.
What have you been up to out there?
What are you talking about?
Better change the subject.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Excuse me.
Hey, the domestic man.
Hurry to the kitchen.
Just sling it on top of the cupboard.
Sling it, right.
Just gently, Norman. Don't be carried away.
Righto, Chief.
What a revolting sight. What have you done to the Slav on marriage?
She's house-trained him at last.
That I doubt. Well, on that awful picture, I'm off to bed. What room was Norman untidying last night?
The spare room, Reg's old one.
Ah, right. Tell Norman if he wants to join me, he may. But I'd prefer if he came on his own. May I borrow this to read?
Oh, of course.
So gruesome, she frightened me to sleep. Good night, all.
Or do you want to call in the morning?
If you sleep with Norman, you wake at dawn. Be warned.
Good night, Ruth. Good
Night.
Personally, I think that if she showed Norman a little more kindness and encouragement, she might find him a little less difficult.
Well, don't let one success go to your head.
Oh, well, let's face it. Ruth's always had trouble getting on with anybody. Most of the time, she doesn't even try. I'm sure Norman is difficult to live with, I've no doubt, but any man who hasn't... No, I'm being serious.
Good night.
She did that deliberately.
Well, I think I'll follow on then. Do you mind if I go in the bathroom first?
Oh, no.
Got to drive in the morning, get an early night.
Oh, would you switch on the blanket, dear?
Right. See you up there then.
Okay.
Night, Reg.